Okay, so here's my game. Here it starts off as a cutscene, focusing in on the point of the game, which is the room, to get into the room. You can see that there's damage areas around and different pickups. Score pickup, health pickup. There's also a key pickup, which you'll see in a minute. Here I'm just testing that the damage pickup works. And you can see it takes off the health over a certain amount of time. Health pickup works, adding health after you run into it, and then here's the key pickup. Now a display comes on the screen telling you to drag objects away using the E key on the keyboard, and then once you run into the key pickup, it checks the little box in the corner saying that you've got the key. Here's the water. As you can see, it's taken off the oxygen over time, and then I'm just going to stay in it for a little bit and show that it takes off health as well. And then when you get out the water, the oxygen goes back up over a certain period of time. And now that you've got the key, the door opens on a timeline, and it finishes off with a cutscene. Now on this bit, just showing that the code of the door, and basically it checks if the player has a key or not on the condition. That's linked back to the first person character, and if it does, it changes the rotation of the door on a timeline. As you can see on the timeline, over the period of 1 second, it changes the value from 0 to 1. And then once the door is opened and the person has gone through it or steps back from it, is no longer in the range of the trigger area, the timeline reverses itself and goes back to its original position. Now the key pickup, you can see that once the player has collided with the box collision, it will go into the first person character, cast the first person character, and turn the player has key condition to true so that the player can go into the door, whereas before without it the player wouldn't be able to open the door. See from the HUD the binding of the key condition to check the box or leave the box unchecked. Right, so here is my drowning area, which is in the water, obviously set below the water level. So what it does is once the player overlaps the area, the condition from the first person character, actually no, this is in the script of the actor, is the condition players underwater is true, which then sets the oxygen down 0.05. It then goes off to a branch where the condition is still true or not, waits 0.5 seconds, and if it's still true, it'll loop back around and minus 0.05 HP off, oxygen off again. And then at the end of it, it says that once the oxygen is equal to or less than 0, it will start taking away health and turn the player is drowning condition to true, where it basically does the exact same thing. It takes away health, branches off, checks if it's still true, or checks if actually first it checks the health is not below 0 or equal to 0. If it is, then it restarts the level. If it isn't, then it checks again if the player is still drowning. If it is, with 0.5 seconds, checks again, and then loops back around to take more health off. And then once you get out of the water, if obviously you're still alive, it will basically do the exact same code, but in reverse, put oxygen back to the player. So at the beginning of the game, you saw the cutscene without the HUD, and how I did that was when the game starts up on the event begin play on the first person character, it creates a level sequence player which is set to the cutscene, which is the cutscene which I wanted. in a sequence so that it went through all the cutscene first, disabled the player input and until the cutscene was over, and then it went on to display the HUD. For the final cutscene was basically the exact same thing, where create a level sequence player, set it to the cutscene that I wanted to, disable the player input, but I did that when the player walks into overlaps. This is the particle effect for my waterfall. Basically what I've done is I've used a image that looks like water, and then just got it to spawn a load of them particles. And then what it does is, with the velocity, I got it to fall downwards, and with like kind of a slight curve at the top, like a waterfall would do, as in the X, Y, and Z values, and to get the desired like curve and like flow that I wanted. And then I adjusted the size by life so that the waterfall started small at the top, but then grew outwards at the bottom. And also, what I did was I basically copied and pasted that waterfall effect, but replaced it with a smoky kind of effect to like that goes inside of the waterfall. So it's not just a plain bit of water dropping. There's also like something. Now, how I did the smoke at the bottom of the waterfall was I again got the water effect, and I used the initial location and the size by life to make it stay in one place. And using the min and max values of the initial location, I go to like kind of scatter a little bit, so it's not just in the same exact location, it's just in like the same area. And then I also got the smoke effect again, but just spawning the one particle this time, and having a large lifetime and using size by life to make it slowly expand out and keep expanding and spawning a new one, and then so on and so on. So for my grab object script, what happens is you press the E key on the keyboard and it will do a line trace from, what it will do is it will get the location and forward vector of the first person camera, and then if it hits an object which stimulates physics, it will grab that object and it will make the object follow whichever direction the first person camera is pointing at.